I will show you how to transform the paralysis you feel today into a protective shield for your spiritual awakening. The cost of continuing to ignore these subtle signs is learning through extreme exhaustion, repeating cycles of pain that your soul can no longer endure. Through decades of sensitive observation and contemplative practice, I have learned that being stuck is not a mistake of fate, but a sacred pause. It is not about waiting for an external miracle or feeling broken. You are simply in a process of inner re-education where stopping is, in fact, the most intelligent move you can make. Today, your first step toward reconnection will be replacing the effort of trying to fix it with the silence of deep listening. Sometimes, life seems to conspire so that nothing moves. Projects that don't advance, relationships that feel heavy, and a strange feeling that no matter how fast you run, the wheels are just spinning in the same mud. In this journey of practical spirituality, we will explore why this blockage might actually be your essence trying to rescue you from the chaos. As the poet Khalil Gibran said, "The tortoise knows the road better than the hare." Perhaps your current slowness is the wisdom of your soul preventing you from arriving faster at a place where you were never meant to be. We will dive into how to identify life's subtle signs and take responsibility for your awakening of consciousness, transforming the anguish of waiting into the fertile void of one preparing to bloom. Understood. Let us move directly to the heart of our journey, eliminating formalities and diving into the depth of the requested topics. The narrative will follow a continuous flow, where each reflection emerges naturally from the last, like a river meandering in search of the sea. Sometimes, the feeling that life has stopped is not a punishment, but a gesture of mercy from your own being. Imagine your soul is like a silent master who, perceiving that you are walking toward an emotional abyss, places an invisible barrier in your path. This external blockage is actually an intimate protection against choices that no longer vibrate at your current frequency. As Taoism teaches, non-doing, Wu Wei, is not inertia, but perfect alignment with a natural flow. If doors do not open, perhaps it is because what lies on the other side no longer belongs to your new cycle of spiritual awakening. Instead of fighting the paralysis, ask yourself, what is this pause trying to protect me from? Remember, you are not broken. You are simply being redirected by your own internal axis. But to understand this invisible shield, one must sharpen a sense that we often let fall asleep in the noise of the world. It is not about understanding with the mind, but feeling with presence. For when the legs stop, the heart begins to speak louder, and it is in this silence that we discover the difference between the noise that exhausts us and the voice that heals us. There is a profound difference between hearing the noise of the world and listening to the whisper of the soul. Life rarely screams at first. It starts with subtle signs, like an inexplicable fatigue or a lack of interest in what used to bring pleasure. Those who ignore these signs end up learning through burnout, for the physical body is the final stage where the soul acts out its discontent. Rumi reminds us that there is a voice that doesn't use words. Listen. Developing self-knowledge is learning to correct the path early on, with less pain and more presence. Healing begins the moment you stop fighting what you feel and allow yourself to simply observe what your inner silence is trying to say. It is a re-education of spiritual hearing, exchanging the noise of urgency for the melody of coherence. This deep listening reveals a truth that the ego usually rejects, that the seed does not need to rush to break through the earth. It needs time. Often, the fear of falling behind makes us ignore that life has its own rhythm, a pulse that does not obey our clocks, but our spiritual maturity. The conditioned mind believes that stopping is giving up, but Buddhism teaches us that the tree grows in silence, and the roots deepen in the darkness of the earth before any fruit appears. Understanding that a pause is a form of movement is essential for your personal development. To stop is to reorganize your step. It is to respect the limits you have systematically ignored in the name of a productivity that does not nourish the spirit. In this stage of your inner path, external inactivity is intense internal activity. It is the moment when the fertile void becomes the womb of the new. Like a bow that needs to be pulled back before launching the arrow, this apparent paralysis is the tension necessary for your next leap in consciousness. Respect your rhythm. The soul is not in a hurry, it has time. Yet, this sacred pause only fulfills its role when we stop fighting the natural flow. When we insist on quickening our pace while the soul asks for rest, we create a noise that sickens not only the mind, but the very temple we inhabit. It is the moment when the mismatch between what we do and who we are begins to take its toll on our biology. Misalignment arises when we try to impose a rhythm on our being that belongs to the ego, not to nature. Sickened bonds and toxic environments act as noise that drowns out our spiritual truth. When internal silence is ignored, we create patterns of error that repeat, as if we were trapped in a hall of mirrors where the reflection of pain is the only thing we see. Jung spoke about how that which is not integrated into consciousness returns as fate. If you feel the world seems to be against you, consider the possibility that your own essence is sabotaging your false plans to rescue your real identity. Life does not punish. It simply signals that you are walking along trails that, consciously, your heart no longer wishes to inhabit. Recognizing these signs is the first great awakening. It is the instant we stop pointing at the horizon in search of the guilty and turn our hands back to our own helm. For if the world seems in chaos, perhaps it is the final invitation for you to stop being a passenger of chance and become the architect of your own peace. True awakening of consciousness happens when we stop looking at the sky waiting for an external miracle and start looking within, taking responsibility for our own vibration. Waiting for something to change out there, without an inner reformation, is like waiting for the reflection in the mirror to smile before you do. The wisdom of Khalil Gibran teaches us that the seed must break for life to emerge. This rupture hurts, but it is what moves us from the passivity of the victim to the protagonism of the seeker. Taking responsibility is recognizing that, while you do not control the storms, you are the master of your boat's helm. The miracle you seek is the very courage to walk toward your axis, even when the world around you seems in chaos. Now, I invite you to a small practice of presence. Wherever you are, feel the weight of your body and breathe deeply, recognizing that this moment of pause is sacred territory. Imagine that every no life has given you recently is, in fact, a yes your soul is giving to a more authentic future. And if the paralysis that distresses you today is, in fact, the protective embrace of your own essence, preventing you from losing yourself. If these words touched something inside you, perhaps it is time to take one more step on this path of reuniting with your inner truth. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue receiving content that nourishes the soul with presence and authenticity. Share in the comments what resonated with your heart. Your story might be the mirror someone else needed to find. If you seek a safe harbor, know that our community is the sanctuary where fertile silence is shared and deepened. Enjoy the posts on the channel in the Community tab. To continue expanding this field of presence, we suggest the video pinned in the card. May it be a source of inspiration on your journey. Peace and light.